You know, folks, this is the first election of my lifetime where going into it, the number one issue that I hear everyone talking about is democracy and the future of American democracy. I really never thought that we would ever be at this point in our country, but here we are. And that should really make anyone stop and pause as to why are we even having this conversation to start with. Now, both sides will say that the other side is the real threat to democracy. We've been saying it about MAGA for a long time and with good reason. But now they flip the script and they say, no, it's really us. And Donald Trump says he took a bullet for democracy. Well, I will argue all day long that we are not the threat, and here's why. Donald Trump said he would be dictator on day one. That was not a deal breaker for MAGA. Donald Trump said he would terminate the Constitution. That wasn't a deal breaker for MAGA. Donald Trump praises dictators all the time, talks about how they rule their country, talks about what strong leaders they are, and acts as though that's who he's going to pattern this country after. And that doesn't raise red flags to people. This is a guy who tried to overturn an election that he knew he lost, tried to install fake electors, staged an event on January 6th, and his people went to the Capitol and tried to overthrow the government, threatened to hang the vice president if he certified the election results. They bought into every conspiracy theory that Donald Trump continued to push, and they're still doing it. And they're setting the stage now to say that the 2024 election will be rigged against them now. So I really feel like that is a true threat to democracy. Now, think about this. On our side of the aisle, right now we have a Democratic president. The Supreme Court gave the president full immunity for official acts. So if Joe Biden wanted to, he could do anything he wanted, call it an official act, and how would he ever be held accountable for it? Instead, Joe Biden is saying we need to reverse that Supreme Court decision. We need to restore trust in our institutions. And we need to make sure that no one, including the president, is above the law. So how can you say that a man who wants to reverse that decision and not give the president full immunity, how can you say he's the threat to democracy? You have a guy on your side saying he has to be immune. He has to be able to break every rule in the book in order to be able to do his job, yet you want to call us the real threat to democracy. There's no way and there's no world that you can make it make sense. But in this next clip, Adam Kinzinger makes a whole lot of sense, and this is something we need to be talking more about. Take a look.
Today, you announced you are endorsing Vice President Kamala Harris for president, and you joined a number of fellow Republicans to kick off Republicans for Harris. Tell us why.
Well, I mean, it's really easy. Look, if you're a conservative, a real conservative that believes in things like the Constitution, the principles this country was founded on, I mean, you can disagree with Kamala Harris on policy issues, but really the threat that's really near to us is, does democracy survive? And I don't mean that like esoterically or to be like dramatic, but when you think of the last election and the fact that Donald Trump convinced a significant amount of the country that trusted him, that put their faith in him, that an election was stolen when it wasn't stolen. When you convince people that the system doesn't work and that your voice isn't heard, you do real damage to self-governance. It's really hard to self-govern if a significant amount of the country believes that their voice isn't heard, their vote doesn't count. So in my mind, there's no doubt Donald Trump is a clear threat to the future of democracy, the future faith of democracy. And Kamala Harris has made it clear that she supports it even when we disagree on things. That's what democracy is about. It's about disagreeing. And also, by the way, another big thing, she supports Ukraine's victory against Russia. And Donald Trump has been very clear that he instead admires Russia. So that's why.
So before we keep going, I just wanted to take a minute and thank everyone out there who has subscribed to this channel. We have already crossed over 276,000 subscribers at the making of this video. We're headed toward 300,000. That's completely mind-boggling to me. I just wanted to take a minute and thank everyone who has hit the subscribe button. If you haven't already, be sure to. Hit the like button, leave a comment, share it with your Fox News watching uncle if you want to. Like I said before, I don't mind being the guy that gets under his skin. And you can send him this video and we can tell him about how that more and more Republicans are getting behind Vice President Kamala Harris because there are Republicans out there, aside from the MAGA cult, who truly does want to see American democracy restored and kept in place. And they understand that we're not always going to agree with one another, and that's what makes us a democracy. So he made so many good points in there. And the real question is, does democracy survive after the damage that Donald Trump has already done? And I feel like that's something I've really not talked about enough. I've talked about how I feel like he's a threat going forward. But folks, there is a ton of damage that's already been done to our democracy when you sit back and you still double down and you preach that an election was rigged and stolen and that someone's voice got took away from them and they lose faith in the system. Once you get them to a point where they've lost complete faith in the system, then you can come in and say things like this. Remember when Trump said this?
Christians, get out and vote just this time. You won't have to do it anymore. 4 more years, you know what? It'll be fixed. It'll be fine. You won't have to vote anymore, my beautiful Christians. I love you, Christians. I'm a Christian. I love you. Get out. You got to get out and vote. In 4 years, you don't have to vote again. We'll have it fixed so good you're not going to have to vote.
Yeah, just vote for me one more time and you'll never have to do it again. If that's not a threat to democracy, folks, I don't really know what is. And that is absolutely destroying people's faith in our system. The people standing there listening to him already thinks their voice wasn't heard. They already think the game was rigged against them. So if you convince them of that, then when you get back in power, you can rig the system in your favor from now on, and they're going to go with it because they've put their trust in what you've said. And what you've said has been debunked over and over and over again. Donald Trump lost over 60 court cases trying to prove that the election was stolen. He couldn't. They couldn't because it wasn't. It was a free and fair election. He lost because I really believe because of his complete and total bungling of COVID. I think it's what put it over the top. But I think he lost because people saw through him, saw what a disastrous presidency he had. He's truly delusional to sit and talk about how America was so great under him. It wasn't. The people that worked right alongside him, the people that he appointed, the people that he promised his base was the smartest of all people. Those people said that he didn't know what he's doing. Those people said he was a lost ball in high weeds. Those people said it was complete and utter chaos watching him try to figure out how to govern. And he's wanting another shot at it. And this entire time he's been preaching that the system was rigged. And he's saying, it was rigged against you. So vote for me and I'll fix it to where it's never rigged again. And to all the people that's still on the fence, and I don't know how you are, but to all the people that's still on the fence, how can you look at this and remain on that fence? I'm truly asking sincerely. I don't mean it as an insult. How are you sitting on that fence when you've got a guy saying, we're going to fix this to where you never have to vote again. We're going to fix this to where it'll be in our favor from here on out. If you're independent and you don't want to be aligned with a political party, I get that. But you got one side that has a Democratic president right now saying, I want to overturn the Supreme Court decision because I don't want to have full immunity, because I don't want to break the law, because I'm not above the law. And you've got another guy who says, I need full immunity in order to be able to do my job. And you got him saying he's going to fix the system to where you never have to vote again. To me, the decision could never be more clear. But the damage that's already been done to American democracy is going to take years to fix. And I really believe where we start is getting that Supreme Court decision reversed. And we all come to the agreement that no one is above the law, not even the president. We all come to the agreement that democracy is very important to America and that it should never be on the ballot. We should be talking about the issues at hand. We should be agreeing and disagreeing on the issues at hand, not on democracy itself. This should have never happened. We should have never been at this point, but we're here now. And we're going to have to put in a lot of work to repair the damage that Trump's done to democracy. But we can do that. And we can definitely start in November by voting for Kamala Harris. And then we can start picking up the pieces to this mess and moving this country forward.